hoping gets by at Auric.
Quite a lineup coming up. Tomorrow night, Robert Mueller, the director of the FBI, will be our special guest for the full program. Thursday night, Colin Powell, the Secretary of State. Friday night, Queen Noor. How are we doing so far? We're in Washington all week. In New York all week is my man on the scene. He's the host of NewsNight, but he's more than that. He's an indelible fabric. He's part of the scene. He belongs. He's here. He's Aaron Brown.
He's eager to start.
Untouched. Go.
Thank you, Mr. King. Thank you. Good evening again, everyone. In a strange way, it seemed we knew all along what brought the shuttle down. Even before the long and careful investigation, before the string of tests, in our heart, we knew that moments after the shuttle was launched, it was doomed. What most of us didn't understand is how something that was always described as foam could cause enough damage to cause the tragedy. Even looking at the early tests, it didn't seem to make sense. Today, it makes perfect sense, and it leads the whip with what one investigator is calling the smoking gun. Miles O'Brien. Of course, Miles, the headline.
Well, Aaron, and that investigative team promised all along that it would be very difficult to come up with a smoking gun, but as you'll see with those pictures in just a few moments, today they got precisely just that, a smoking gun.
Miles, thank you. We'll get to you at the top tonight. On to Liberia, where a U.S. military team has arrived, and the president continues to weigh in on whether to send more American troops. Brent Sadler is in the capital. Brent, a headline.
Thanks, Aaron. Yes, the U.S. military took its first tentative steps to help Liberia earlier today. Not peacekeepers on the ground yet, but a team of specialists here to assess this nation's dire humanitarian needs, perhaps a forerunner to even greater U.S. involvement here.
Brent, thank you. And now to the arrest of 3 teenagers armed and, according to police, about to begin a murder spree. Deborah Farrick is on that story from the Philadelphia suburb of Oakland, New Jersey. Deborah, headline.
Aaron, they had rifles, shotguns, 2,000 rounds of ammunition. Police say they averted another Columbine, though the family of one of the teens paints a picture of a troubled boy.
Deborah, thank you. Back to you and the rest shortly. Also coming up tonight on this Monday, we'll look at 2 very deadly days for U.S. troops in Iraq. And CNN's Jane Arraf gives us a sense of what it's really like for these young Americans on the ground in Baghdad, the spot decisions they have to make that could make the difference between life and death for them and the Iraqis they are trying to help. And a look at comments today from President Bush on making changes to the Head Start program. The president says he wants to see better management to better help poor children. Critics, however, see a veiled threat. We'll, of course, have our nightly worldwide exclusive, not to be seen anywhere, anytime, any place, from anybody but us. Our look at tomorrow morning's papers tonight. And also tonight, someone who has a knack of finding a fascinating tale wherever he goes, Sebastian Younger, just back from Liberia. Jeffrey Toobin on the scandal at the San Francisco Police Department known as Fajita Gate. And we'll remember a beloved hillbilly, actor Buddy Epson. All of that, more in the hour to come. We begin with the Shuttle Columbia story, the moment today that brought to mind one about 15 years ago in the investigation into the Shuttle Challenger disaster. The smoking gun moment when everyone knew what had caused the explosion, when an investigator dunked a shuttle O-ring into a glass of ice water. Today, a similar moment in the investigation into the breakup of Columbia. Once again, CNN's Miles O'Brien.
It struck like a thunderbolt.
3, 2, 1, 0.
And left behind a gaping hole and some slackened jaws.
What we got was something completely unexpected.
In a test that crash investigators say faithfully recreated what happened to the Space Shuttle Columbia 82 seconds after launch, the team looking for the cause of the orbiter's demise hit pay dirt.
I believe that we have found the smoking gun. I believe that we've established that the foam block fell off of the external tank was in fact the most probable cause, the direct cause of the Columbia accident.
The insulating foam fell off Columbia's external fuel tank and struck the leading edge of her left wing at a relative speed of 500 miles an hour. NASA's shuttle team knew about the foam strike shortly after launch, but presumed the light material could not pierce the tough carbon panels that protect the wings. But take a look at this view, captured during the test by a camera mounted inside the wing mock-up. It's clear proof Columbia flew more than 2 weeks with a huge hole in its wing.
I felt surprise at how it appeared. Such a dramatic punch-through. But it is the kind of damage, the type of damage that must have occurred to bring down the orbiter.
A hole like this, 16 inches across, would have allowed 3,000-degree plasma to blowtorch the aluminum structure of the wing during re-entry. Investigators believe the hole on Columbia's wing might have been a little smaller, perhaps 10 inches in diameter. But they still say this test leaves little room for doubt. Columbia and her crew of 7 were doomed 1 minute and 22 seconds into their mission. The Columbia Accident Investigation Board is recommending future shuttle crews are trained and equipped to conduct repairs to the shuttle on orbit, but fixing a hole that size in orbit might be an insurmountable task. The board is also recommending, and NASA has already agreed to do this, to use spy observatories to take pictures of orbiters in flight. NASA managers rejected suggestions from lower-level engineers to use these secret eyes in the sky to photograph Columbia. They said it wouldn't show anything, but a hole this size might very well have been detectable, Aaron.
With all the sensors that are on these on the shuttle that seem to know everything about sort of what that aircraft is going through, that spacecraft is going through, why wouldn't it pick up the fact there was a huge hole in the wing?
You would think they'd have a sensor for just that, but you know, there's as many sensors as they have. You're talking about something with 1 million parts. You can't have a sensor for everything, and so each and every one of those pieces of carbon was not set up to tell the crew that it was missing.
Miles, thank you, and hang around. In about 30 minutes, NASA plans to launch the second of a pair of spacecraft bound for Mars, the Mars rover named Opportunity, set to go at 10:35:23, as I recall. Miles will be around, and if it goes on time, we'll cover it for you right here. On now to Iraq, where there was grim proof today of what an Army commander of the Allied forces in Iraq admitted last week, that, quote, we're still at war. 3 U.S. troops have been killed in and around Baghdad since yesterday. A bomb early today killed 1 soldier traveling in an Army convoy. A second American was shot to death Sunday during a gun battle, and another was shot and killed early Sunday while drinking a soda at Baghdad University. That makes 30 Americans killed by hostile fire since May the 1st, when the president declared major combat over in Iraq. They are the facts, the terrible ones, that show the latest violence in Iraq, but they don't always tell the overall story of what life is like for the American troops on the ground. There are growing reports of low morale. There's an increased sense that the Americans face far more than some small-time hit-and-miss operation, but rather they are facing the beginning of a guerrilla war. For the soldiers on patrol, these are difficult and stressful days. Here's CNN's Jana Raff.
To a young American soldier, this is what Baghdad looks and feels like at night.
And you like go crazy and stuff. So many people around you calling your name. The only thing that they say is Mister, like the movies, you know.
They have night scopes to help them see in the dark, but seeing isn't everything.
Just gonna pull up to the right, stop the engine, turn off the lights, and just listen to the environment.
On one street, exuberant children. On another, gunfire. They don't know whether it's aimed at thieves or at them.
Hey! Halt! Don't fire!
Nothing. Nothing. Okay. Just shoot me. Please.
Just tell them to make sure that it's don't shoot at American soldiers, right? You have the right.
Sorry. Sorry.
Okay.
I'm sorry. So sorry.
It's okay. In Baghdad now, even many of the people with weapons are afraid. Afraid of the soldiers, but too afraid of the night to give up their weapons.
Dude's about 10 seconds away from getting shot.
The soldiers, mostly young and all very far from home, are afraid too.
If you get a call like there's a burning building, that might be a
Fedayeen ambush. No matter what, they just, you know, those people just hate Americans.
Yeah,
they want to have, you know, they don't want Americans around.
Right.
So, you know, what do you do?
What they do is try to protect themselves without antagonizing the neighborhood.
Hello.
In these Baghdad streets at night, you just don't know what you're going to find. It could be kids wanting to say hello, or it could be guns around the corner.
Even with their $500,000 thermal imaging that lets them spot people from miles away, they're still vulnerable.
Night vision's, you know, good, but only up to a point.
They try to get to know the neighborhoods, but with the cultural and language barrier, they miss an awful lot.
Yeah, I just want to see if he was okay, man.
They assume Abdulghafoor is drunk, but he's not drunk. He's alone. His friends say his mother, his brother, his nephew, and 2 uncles were killed by helicopter fire during the battle for Baghdad. He says it's true. I would prefer Saddam Hussein over this kind of life, he tells us. The soldiers would much prefer not to be here. But they continue to patrol. Jane Araf, CNN, Baghdad.
Other news today, U.S. troops, of course, dodging bullets and building nations in both Iraq and Afghanistan. The question now, are they headed to Liberia next? You may not know much about Liberia, and the more you learn, the more concerned you might be about the fate of U.S. troops. It would be heartless not to recognize Liberian desperation and mindless not to see the extreme danger in getting involved. President Bush is considering whether to send Americans to help end the civil war there, just as he begins his trip to Africa. And today, American military team began assessing just how much help Liberia needs. Here's CNN's Brent Sadler.
The United States answers a call for help. U.S. military personnel touched down in Monrovia at the start of a fact-finding mission. Not a peacekeeping mission, but an effort to scope out Liberia's humanitarian crisis. A low-key start to operations here coincides with intense U.S. pressure on Liberia's President Charles Taylor to leave office. But Mr. Taylor is still here, accepting an offer of asylum in Nigeria, but refusing to actually quit unless peacekeepers are on the streets of Monrovia. The war-ravaged and impoverished capital of this ruined nation is at peace for now. Rebel forces besieging Mr. Taylor's stronghold have honored a ceasefire and held off storming the city center. And Liberians are now hoping there's a chance the United States will soon commit troops to help stabilize their country. Refugees spell it out.
Be there as a police between the 2 or the 3 fighting forces in Liberia so that they will stop the people from fighting.
But that's precisely what U.S. officials say they hope to avoid. The capital is full of homeless victims of conflict in desperate need.
We need America help. We want America the American to come to our aid.
And U.S. aid may be on the way for people in desperate need of help.
About 1 million people currently in deep trouble because of the war, either in the sense of not having enough to eat and not enough medicine, no place to live. You have people living in the stadium down here downtown, and that's, of course, a deep breeding ground for diseases.
Assessing the dire needs of this country in chaos is in itself no easy mission, but the task of laying the groundwork, perhaps for wider U.S. involvement, has clearly begun. And most Liberians we've spoken to on the streets of the capital here say they desperately want to see U.S. engagement, and soon. Aaron.
Just quickly, is the situation so chaotic that international relief agencies, non-government organizations, essentially cannot function?
That's absolutely right, Aaron. To give you an example, the British Embassy closed its doors here back in 1991. The US Embassy is here with a skeleton staff, very well protected. but NGOs are virtually non-existent. Perhaps a handful of international staff working in this country, relying on a very thin network of field workers throughout the country. It is really, really very much a blind situation as far as what's going on in this country as a whole.
Brent, thank you very much. Brent Sadler in Liberia tonight. It's fair to say the president's interest in that country has been a bit of a surprise, but then so is his support for more funding to fight AIDS in Africa. Some say it is the influence of African Americans in his cabinet. Others say he's trying to emphasize the compassionate part of compassionate conservative. Still others say he's trying to show the world he's not some go-it-alone cowboy. We'll probably never know all the factors at play, what's in the president's mind, but we do know it's made for quite a backdrop for Mr. Bush's trip to Africa this week. Here's our senior White House correspondent, John King.
An Africa trip postponed because of the looming war in Iraq is now overshadowed somewhat by efforts to end one of the continent's all-too-common civil wars. The president will visit 5 countries in 5 days: Senegal, South Africa, Botswana, Uganda, and Nigeria. Visiting a slave house in Senegal will open the trip with a haunting reminder.
Slavery was, of course, America's birth defect.
The president is promising to help end the civil war in Liberia, and this new effort in Western Africa fits with his overriding theme for the trip.
When you have this broad swath of conflict and failed states, you have the opportunity that has already been exploited by Al-Qaeda to take precious minerals out of those countries and use them to finance the terrorist operations and terrorist organizations.
But as Mr. Bush promises help, there are many skeptics. The president, for example, talks of an unprecedented $15 billion U.S. commitment to fight HIV/AIDS, and billions more in aid to African nations that prove their commitment to political and economic reforms. But Congress has yet to approve the funding.
If these are revealed to be broken promises, then he risks being seen as really callous, as manipulating African suffering for political gain.
Africa's elder statesman is missing from the president's agenda because the White House made clear it did not want a meeting. Nelson Mandela is a harsh Bush critic on the Iraq War and other issues, and he decided to travel outside South Africa while Mr. Bush is in Pretoria.
George Bush should be honored to have an audience with Nelson Mandela, but he didn't even request an appointment.
The major goal of the Bush trip is to focus on the continent's economic progress and potential.
We get 16% of our imported oil from Africa. That's going to go up to 20% in the next 10 years.
The president says by the end of his trip, his commitment to Africa will no longer be in doubt. The immediate test comes in Liberia, a country that was hardly a major White House concern back when this trip was first put together. John King, CNN, the White House.
Goodbye party to report tonight, one that included singer Wayne Newton and the actor Robert De Niro, along with hundreds of troops from the U.S. Central Command. They were all there to honor the man who ran the wars in Afghanistan and Iraq, General Tommy Franks, who is retiring. The general was true to character, offering up blunt assessments, dry wit, and unwavering support for his commander-in-chief. More on the general's goodbye and the man taking his place from Pentagon correspondent Barbara Starr.
It was a classic goodbye from an old soldier.
22 months ago, the United States of America, in fact the free world, looked into the face of evil. We came on that day to recognize our vulnerability, and the world came to recognize America with attitude.
Tommy Franks bidding farewell to the troops, but his heart still in the fight.
As President Bush said recently, bring it on. That's been the attitude of this command, of this country, of the members of this powerful coalition for some 22 months, and we'll still stand and we'll still say it. Rough road behind, rough road ahead. Bring it on.
In Afghanistan, the Taliban have been overthrown. Al-Qaeda is on the run. In Iraq, Saddam Hussein no longer in power. But Franks, awarded the Purple Heart 3 times for being wounded in Vietnam, leaves with a truly difficult road ahead. Some 30 troops killed by hostile fire in Iraq since major combat ended. The U.S. increasingly convinced Saddam is alive, and loyalists believe he will return. Still, no weapons of mass destruction found. And Osama bin Laden still at large, Al-Qaeda launching more attacks. all a challenge for Frank's successor, General John Abizaid. Abizaid's command not expected to lead to policy changes, but the two men could not be more different. Abizaid, fluent in Arabic, an expert in regional affairs. Tommy Franks, always the frontline soldier.
He's the kind of guy you imagine throwing horseshoes in a southern state in his spare time, or telling old stories with comrades, or chomping on cigars.
Today is the day that I make myself an honest man, having told my wife 34 years ago that I was going to leave the United States Army. Today I'm an honest man. Kathy?
A long career, a final tour of duty at an extraordinary time that no one, even Tommy Franks, ever expected. Barbara Starr, CNN, The Pentagon.
Before the president left today for his trip to Africa, there was one domestic item on the agenda, the Head Start preschool program. The president says he wants to improve Head Start. Critics say it's really a plan to cut funding for the program. Here's NewsNight's Beth Nissen.
During a visit to a Head Start center in Landover, Maryland, the president called for improvements in the widely praised preschool program.
Even though most children in Head Start make some educational progress, most of them still leave the program with skills and knowledge levels that are far below what we expect.
The president's comments drew immediate response from defenders of the 38-year-old program, which gives almost 1 million poor preschoolers nationwide a combination of nutritious meals, medical care, and a jump on learning the alphabet, learning to read.
Nearly 4 decades of research on Head Start show that the program works. It reduces the percentage of kids that fail in school, increases their achievement test scores, decreases special education needs, and even increases the rate at which they graduate from high school.
Head Start graduates do not have reading scores as good as their middle-class counterparts or those in better-funded preschool programs. The president suggested Head Start needs to be more accountable for better results if it wants to keep federal funding.
We're not going to just spend money and hope something positive happens. We're going to spend money and see results.
The remarks referred to proposed legislation supported by the administration that would encourage more states to take over Head Start programs now directed by the Federal Department of Health and Human Services. The threat to federal funding for Head Start drew this response from the Congressional Black Caucus. If President Bush really wanted to do something to help disadvantaged children in Maryland, he would support full funding for the Head Start program rather than gutting the program by turning it over to cash-strapped states. Debate over who should pay for Head Start is expected to begin in the House within the next 2 weeks. Beth Nissen, CNN, New York.
And ahead on Newsnight, 3 teens from a small town in New Jersey and what might have happened if police hadn't intervened. Plus the scandal that started over an order of fajitas. Jeffrey Toobin takes us inside San Francisco Police Department. A break first from New York. This Newsnight.
One of these cars is filled with new Shell gasoline. The gasoline specially formulated to give you better mileage. In fact, we have tests to prove it. So, if you took these 3 cars on an identical journey, new Shell gasoline would help one of them go farther.
Okay, here's the paperwork to apply for your new home loan. I'll check back in a couple of hours to see how you're doing.
But I thought the bank had reduced the paperwork to get a mortgage.
Ooh, right. There you go.
Want to refinance or cash out some equity? Call Ditech.com now for a low fixed rate mortgage.
Oh no. Bust another loan to Ditech.
Ditech.com. Call 1-800-71-FIXED.
Finger and toe area fungal infections require strong medicine. As a doctor, I recommend FungiCure.
FungiCure liquid eliminates fungus around nails with powerful antifungal medicine. Just brush it on. It's clear and dries in a snap. FungiCure, the finger and toe fungi specialist.
Tomorrow on American Morning, 3 New Jersey teens accused of plotting a violent rampage. I'm Soledad O'Brien. We'll hear from their parents who say these aren't the kids they know. CNN tomorrow.
My daughter was born at 8:33 a.m. At 8:34 a.m., my mom's on the phone in tears asking when she could see her granddaughter. A minute after that, she does.
Introducing the cool new camera phone from Singular. Just shoot and email instantly to your friends and family. It's simple. Plus, sign up for select calling plans now and you'll get this sleek Sony Ericsson camera phone free.
I call it the Tim Simpko Smile for the Phone plan.
Come in today and see how Singular fits you best.
Auto insurance is not some do-it-yourself project.
I tried an 800 number I saw on TV.
It really takes sitting down with an expert.
But like maintenance, it's who you know.
Grange Insurance is only sold through independent agents.
I sat down with my agent, told her my life story, and she said,
Grange is the best choice for your car.
And I'm real comfortable with that.
Parker & Watts Insurance offers low rates, and we pride ourselves on quality customer service. Come visit Parker & Watts Insurance for all of your insurance needs.
CNN, the most trusted name in news.
This is a story that makes you marvel in amazement and horror for what might have happened. Young men armed with rifles and knives and machetes and massive amounts of ammo who were caught after attempting an alleged carjacking. This is not a story about hostile attackers bent on destruction at some checkpoint in Iraq. This involves a trio of teenagers in New Jersey who police say were intent on committing mass murder. Here's CNN's Deborah Fayrick.
It called up images of Columbine. Teenagers dressed in black, heavily armed with rifles, shotguns, and 2,000 rounds of ammunition. Police say they were looking to open fire on several classmates, then go on a shooting spree, killing as many people as possible.
They had identified 3 juveniles that they had planned to execute. Once they had completed that aspect of the plan, they were going to move on and randomly kill people throughout the borough of Oak Lynn.
Police say the plan unraveled before dawn Sunday when 18-year-old Matthew Lovett and 2 younger friends tried hijacking a car.
They had the intent to kill. I mean, I've seen that look before. They had the intent to kill. And that's when I knew, my sixth sense told me it's time to move on.
The driver alerted police and the teens were arrested with no struggle. A search of Lovett's New Jersey apartment where he lives with his dad and brother turned up several guns registered to the father. A lawyer for Matthew Lovett denies the carjacking and says Lovett never intended to hurt anyone. But police say they also found a disturbing letter.
In the letter, there's one line that says, they thought you would like to know that they are warriors and fighting for mankind's freedom, freedom from the society.
Lovett's father tells CNN his son Matthew was happy but shy, a loner scarred at age 9 by his mother's death from pancreatic cancer. Lovett's uncle believes Matthew would never have pulled the trigger.
If he was determined to do that sort of thing, he would have shot at the officers, he would have done something else. He didn't do that.
Lovett graduated Collingswood High School 3 weeks ago. He got A's in computers and graphic design, but struggled with journalism.
In journalism class, what kind of stories did you guys cover? We covered Columbine and snipers. We covered everything.
Okay. So, what did you ever hear him talk about any of those incidents?
No. Totally unexpected.
Other classmates say Lovett and his younger brother, who had a cleft palate, were often picked on.
He wouldn't defend himself, like he wouldn't say anything back. So I guess he tried to ignore it and bottle it up inside.
All 3 teenagers have been charged with conspiracy to murder, carjacking, and possessing firearms. The 2 younger teenagers are not being identified because they are minors. In the meantime, Matthew Lovett is being held in the medical ward of the county jail. He will be undergoing psychological testing. Through his lawyer, he has denied all charges. Aaron?
Deborah, thank you. Deborah Fayrick in New Jersey tonight. By comparison, this next story is small-time stuff. No mass murder here, just a bar fight with a few scrapes and bruises. Small time except for this. This small-time bar fight led to the indictment of virtually the entire command structure of the San Francisco Police Department. Charges later dropped. The case is called Fajita-gate because a bag of fajitas started it all, and it's the most recent work of our legal analyst and New Yorker writer Jeffrey Toobin, who is with us tonight. This is the piece you wrote for New Yorker is essentially a character study of 3 characters in San Francisco, all of whom are fascinating.
Chief of Police Earl Sanders, first black chief, a real civil rights pioneer. Mayor Willie Brown, legendary figure. And perhaps the most extraordinary of all, Terrence Hallinan, the district attorney, a man who was arrested for fighting so often in his youth that his nickname was and is KO. Those are the 3.
Those are the 3 central characters, and basically what happened is it is alleged that 3 cops set upon 2 guys, beat them up pretty bad, and then
And took their fajitas.
And took their fajitas. And then what?
And then Fajita-gate, as it is called in San Francisco, is the claim that the police covered up the involvement of these three cops. And Terrence Hallinan, the district attorney, who has terrible relations with the police, had a grand jury investigation. And the grand jury, to the surprise of virtually everyone, didn't just indict the three cops who got into the fight, but the entire command structure, including Earl Sanders, the chief of police.
Now, it helps in understanding this story to know that one of the cops who was involved in the bar fight is the son of a powerful police officer in the city as well, correct?
Who was indicted. Right. Father and son were indicted. And the other thing you have to understand about this story, it's really all about San Francisco.
I was going to say, could this happen anywhere but?
Nowhere else. I mean, here you have a district attorney who gets more politically popular by attacking the police. Yeah. This is the only city in America where I think that could happen. And though he's up for re-election this year, it's not clear how this will all play out. But it is such a liberal city that that political undercurrent is the key to this whole story.
We've got about a minute. They were, by the grand jury, essentially accused of conspiring to cover this up or to protect the other cops. Was there any evidence at all that they conspired to do anything?
One of the extraordinary things about this is that the grand jury testimony has become public, and I've read it, and there's just no evidence against these people. Hallinan, the district attorney, wound up throwing out the charges himself against the two top officers. The judge threw out the rest against the other supervisors. So the case now is left to the original Fajita three, the three cops in the bar fight. That's all that's left at this point. They haven't gone to trial. We'll see what happens. And, you know, it's just, as Willie Brown said to me, the whole thing is odd.
Yes, and it's too bad. Willie Brown is one of the great politicians, great California politicians of our lifetime. Nice to see you.
Good to see you, sir.
I'm glad to know you're working this summer. Thank you. Still ahead on Newsnight, Destination Mars. The Mars Exploration Rover expected to launch in a few moments. CNN's Miles O'Brien is standing by. He'll join us live as we cover this launch if and when it happens. A break first.
One. What's wrong, hon?
I brought the wrong color. I can't go out like this.
I guess we're not going out back.
I'll get my coat.
There's no place like Outback for our new center cut filet. Outback Steakhouse. No rules, just right.
The Infiniti G35. 260 horsepower, sport-tuned suspension, Motor Trend 2003 Car of the Year. A dream to drive. The Infiniti G35.
One of these cars is filled with new Shell gasoline. The gasoline specially formulated to give you better mileage. In fact, we have tests to prove it. So, if you took these three cars on an identical journey, new Shell gasoline would help one of them go farther.
Every day, all over the world, millions of people receive Adobe PDFs. But few realize just how simple they are to create. Which begs the question, is it better to give a PDF or to receive one? The PDF from Adobe Acrobat.
Gotta get rid of this pain fast. The moment of choice, Tylenol or Advil? Which will work better on muscle aches? Only Advil liquid gels give you advanced, liquid-filled capsules that work faster, stronger, better than Tylenol on tough pain. Advil liquid gels rush relief where you need it. For better relief, advance to Advil.
Tooth pain? Get the same strength pain reliever the dentist uses before he starts his work. Maximum Strength Anbesol. Dentist strong, so the pain is gone.
From TNT and Hallmark Entertainment, every girl dreams of her prince.
A damsel in distress.
But Kate's actually showed up.
Can I drop us someplace?
Perhaps the nearest castle.
Nearest castle it is.
True love begins with a kiss.
Every girl wants to be saved.
What does she want?
True love.
Prince Charming, Sunday night at 8 on TNT.
That is the rocket that will carry the Mars rover Opportunity, if all goes well, to the planet Mars now in less than a minute and a half. If you take a look at Mission Control, and we bring Miles O'Brien in. Miles, there's already one rover up there on its way, right?
Yes, that one is called Spirit. Those were named by a contest, Spirit and Opportunity. NASA could probably rename them if they wanted to, Hope Against Hope, because they had a rough go, as you recall, back in December of 1999 with the Mars Polar Lander. You'll remember that attempt to land on the red planet. And let's listen to the launch here for just a moment. 30 seconds to go here, Aaron. And this is an important mission because it'll give them an opportunity to get down on the surface and continue their hunt for water. Where there's water, there's life. Let's listen.
I'll go for a launch in 20 seconds. 15 seconds. Hold. We've had a hold.
Oh boy.
They have a very narrow window here.
Drain closure valve failure.
Yes, and I'm going to listen here to see what it is, but I'm willing to. There are any number of parameters as they get down to the launch. When they say recycle, there's another opportunity at 11:10:44, and it always amazes me, Aaron, when you're talking about a journey of several hundred million miles, that it comes down to just precise seconds like this that it has to launch.
And correct me if I'm wrong here, but if they miss that 11:10-ish window, then the window's closed for a good long time.
No, we still have a little opportunity. We have until July 15th to get this particular mission off, and then the window closes down for about 52 months. 52 months. Mars is only reachable every 26 months because of a lot of orbital mechanics. You can think of Mars and Earth going around a racetrack, and it's only when they happen to kind of merge together that you have an opportunity to reach Mars with a rocket. Now, for whatever reason, they're not going to try on the next 26-month period. It would be 52 months out. By that time, this rover will probably be outmoded. So this is, we're getting down to the wire here. July 15th still allows them a week or so to play with. We'll see if they get it off at 11:10.
Well, they got it down to 15 seconds, and they put a hold on it, and we'll keep an eye on that as the clock moves towards 11 o'clock here in the east. Miles, thank you. It was close. We almost got there. A few other stories from around the country tonight, beginning with a story surrounding NBA superstar Kobe Bryant. You probably heard some of this. L.A. Laker turned himself into authorities in Colorado after an arrest warrant was issued on a sexual assault allegation, posted $25,000 bond. Police say a woman accused Bryant of sexual misconduct at a hotel in Edwards, Colorado, near Vail last week. Authorities say no charges have been filed yet. Probably won't be till the end of the week, if at all. Bryant says he is innocent. FBI now helping arson investigators in the Washington, D.C. area who are looking into at least 29 suspicious fires that may be the work of a serial arsonist. First fire was in late March, the most recent last week. Investigators say someone is throwing flammable liquid on front or back doors and setting them aflame. And then Vice President Dick Cheney will undergo what his office describes as a routine heart examination tomorrow at a hospital in the D.C. area. He'll have a physical exam, an EKG, an echocardiogram, and a stress test, the full meal deal there. Vice President has had 4 heart attacks since 1978, none since he was elected vice president. Still to come on Newsnight, the dangerous situation in Liberia revisited again. Should the United States intervene? We'll talk with Sebastian Younger. And then goodbye to Buddy Ebsen, the man who made Jed Clampett and the Beverly Hillbillies live. Break first. Around the world, it's Newsnight.
Gotta get rid of this pain fast.
The moment of choice, Tylenol or Advil, which will work better on muscle aches. Only Advil liquid gels give you advanced, liquid-filled capsules that work faster, stronger, better than Tylenol on tough pain. Advil liquid gels rush relief where you need it. For better relief, advance to Advil.
Tooth pain? Get the same strength pain reliever the dentist uses before he starts his work. Maximum strength Anbesol. Dentist strong, so the pain is gone.
Tyrannosaurus Rex teach us about a retirement plan? What's big one day may disappear the next. At Wachovia Securities, we learn from the world around us and provide financial advice for those who need to rebuild. Together, we can achieve uncommon results. Wachovia Securities.
Cogeneration is the clean, efficient production of both electricity and steam. When cogeneration units are started up in refineries, we can operate them cleaner than ever before.
By cogenerating here, we're able to capture heat, supplying all of the power that we need. The greenhouse gas emissions that are saved is the equivalent to taking about 750,000 cars off the roads.
It's practical technology used to meet the world's growing energy needs. It's not only good for the refinery, but it's good for everyone.
I'm Christine Romans with this Moneyline update. Stocks rallied, taking the NASDAQ near a 14-month high. The Dow rose 146 points. WorldCom, now MCI, will pay a record $750 million to settle accounting fraud charges. A federal judge approved that settlement today. Watch Lou Dobbs tonight, weeknights at 6 p.m. Eastern on CNN. Now back to NewsNight with Aaron Brown.
And when we return, the debate over Liberia. Should U.S. troops be sent to keep the peace? We'll talk with one journalist who's just come from there. Break first. This is NewsNight.
Moneyline Update is brought to you by Bank of America. Higher standards. For a snapshot of today's market movement, log on to CNN.com.
Don't you have work to do?
The mortgage. There. I'm done.
The mortgage application with 80% less paperwork. From Bank of America. Higher standards.
More now on Liberia and the question of whether the U.S. will send troops, what they'll find when they get there. Liberia may be little known to many Americans, but according to journalist Sebastian Younger, it is precisely the opposite for Liberians. As a country founded by former American slaves, they think of themselves as Americans in some respects who passionately want and expect U.S. help. Mr. Younger has just returned from the capital. He was on assignment for Vanity Fair, a city he describes as being in a state of anarchy, and he's here with us now. Dangerous place?
I thought it was very dangerous. It was certainly terrifying.
The danger comes from all directions, or, I mean, were you able to say, okay, I'll just stay away from the army and I'll be fine, or...
Well, it was a horrible sort of stew of different kinds of danger, I thought. I mean, the front line was just outside the city. We could hear the artillery bombardments. Mortars landed very near our hotel. On top of that, the militias were completely out of control. They were looting, terrifying the civilians.
The militias are, we keep the players straight here. The militias are not the insurgents, they're the government's troops.
The government's troops,
okay.
and they're not paid. They haven't been paid in 2 years.
So they just loot for income.
Exactly. That's the arrangement they have with the government, is we'll fight for you if you let us loot. So they loot the neighborhoods that people have fled because of the fighting. Fighting is an opportunity to loot for them. Towards the end of the time that I was there, they started looking for Americans at checkpoints because they thought Americans were behind the rebels that were attacking them. So I came under a lot of suspicion.
I want to get to the question of American troops in a second. Is there anything ideological about this civil war, or do they just, do the insurgents or the rebels just want to get rid of President Taylor?
I think pretty much they want to get rid of Taylor. What I heard from the civilians who had been who had met the rebels, who had had their neighborhoods taken over by the rebels, was that the rebels treated them fairly well. They didn't loot private homes. Sometimes they even told the civilians to come loot food with them so they'd have food to eat, but food from stores. So it's all degrees of horribleness, but no, I didn't sense that there was an ideology. It really seemed like a power struggle more than anything.
Can a small group of Americans, 1,000, Americans make a difference there?
Personally, I think they could make a huge difference for a couple of reasons. The numbers of fighters there are very small, and they're incredibly unprofessional. I mean, they really are kids in pickup trucks. They don't even build sandbag positions to defend bridges, things like that, mainly because they can't rely on any other units to protect their back. So it's completely unprofessional. And more importantly, the mood, the sentiment in Liberia towards America is one of sort of love and puzzlement. Like, why aren't you helping us? The soldiers wear the American flag. They style themselves after rap performers or after U.S. soldiers. I mean, they emulate Americans in every way conceivable. I can't imagine them fighting us.
We ran a piece last week where there was this absolute celebration at the prospect the Americans would come in. I think what Americans worry about is that there'll be another Mogadishu. Will there be another Mogadishu?
Well, I'm not a fortune teller, but I didn't get
fortune teller. But you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Is the kindling set?
Yeah. I don't think so. I mean, it's not a situation where there's 5 warlords vying for power. There is a government there. It's hard to tell in Africa what's going to happen. It's a very chaotic place. But my sense was that the anger they have towards Americans is not because they might come, it's because they won't come. As opposed to Iraq, for example, where a lot of the population doesn't want us there. In Liberia, if they're mad at us, or say mad at me as I was walking around the streets as an American, it's because we're ignoring them. I think they'd be falling on their knees if we arrived there. That was my impression.
And just one other question. One of the things that's happened, correct me if I'm wrong, is that the country essentially is all collapsing on the capital. People are fleeing everywhere else, and they're all ending up in the capital.
Yes, it's a disastrous situation. I think it's going. If that goes on, it'll kill more people than the fighting. I mean, there's hundreds of thousands of people that I saw just in the streets getting cholera. They had no food, no rice, no water. I mean, really indescribable chaos.
Nice to see you again. Welcome back.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sebastian Younger and Vanity Fair. Ahead on Newsnight, Buddy Epson. We'll take a look at his life. Break first.
Wow, I've never seen anything like that.
Me neither.
Do it again, Kyle.
Okay, you guys, this is real easy. All you have to do is push the buttons. Wow, this is great.
Want a faster, easier way to apply for a home loan, cash out equity, or consolidate bills? Just log on to Ditech.com or call 1-800-DITECH-1.
Now you see how fast and easy that is? Hey, let me on there. Ditech.com and Kyle Busch. Speed guaranteed.
Looking to put more miles in your tank? All Shell gasolines are now specially formulated to give you better mileage, helping to take you farther.
There are thousands of them. Some cleverly disguised as bookstores, Wi-Fi internet access, or your laptop, or PDA. T-Mobile Hotspot. Get more.
An epic adventure.
This is a night for America!
The must-own DVD of the year. Leonardo DiCaprio, Daniel Day-Lewis, Cameron Diaz, in a film by Martin Scorsese. Gangs of New York. Only today on DVD and video.
The most prestigious golf championship in the world. The game's toughest conditions. The world's best players. The drama of the British Open Championship comes to TNT. This year, see Tiger Woods battle defending champ Ernie Els in the world's best at Royal St. George's in England. The 132nd British Open Championship. Live coverage begins Thursday, July 17th at 7 a.m.
on TNT.
TNT.
Tomorrow on American Morning, police in New Jersey say 3 teens were ready to go on a violent rampage. I'm Soledad O'Brien. Parents say these aren't the kids they know. We're going to hear from them. CNN tomorrow starting at 7 a.m.
Tomorrow on CNN Early Prime at 5, U.S. troops in Liberia and the dangers they might face. A critical look at a perilous military mission. At 6, going broke in America. State and local governments low on cash. How will their problems impact your daily life? At 7, untold stories of World War II. Incredible courage finally recognized. 3 brothers who saved 1,200. Hear from survivors. Wolf Blitzer reports. Lou Dobbs Tonight, live from the headlines. It's all part of CNN Early Prime tomorrow.
For Americans of a certain age, he'll always be remembered as a hillbilly who struck it rich, moved his family to Beverly Hills. But Buddy Ebsen, who died Sunday in Southern California, was much, much more. He was a singer, an actor, a man who excelled at sailing. He probably would have been a doctor, except for his mom. Before he was Jed Clampett on the television series The Beverly Hillbillies, and before he was Davy Crockett's sidekick, Christian Rudolph Ebsen was a song and dance man, and a pretty good one at that.
Touch it, Clara.
It was not his first career choice.
I studied pre-med for 2 years, but my mother was always pushing me towards show business.
He co-starred with Shirley Temple. This is a movie called Captain January in 1936, and with Judy Garland in Broadway Melody of 1938. And for 10 days, he was the original Tin Man in The Wizard of Oz. But the aluminum dust used in the makeup nearly killed him, and Jack Haley got the role of a lifetime.
I didn't want to leave the picture, but I was in hospital. There was not a chance of not leaving it.
After a bitter contract fight with MGM, Buddy Ebsen, in effect, disappeared from the screen, blackballed by studio chief Louis B. Mayer.
Well, Captain, meet up with Davy Crockett.
It wasn't until the mid-50s that he was hired to play Georgie Russell to Fess Parker's Davy Crockett on TV.
Well, doggy.
And then, of course, to television immortality, playing Jed Clampett in the series The Beverly Hillbillies. Panned by the critics, but an enormous hit in the ratings, and a favorite of President Lyndon Johnson.
Our show hit number one, I think it was the second or third week, and we were number one on national television for 2 solid years. We were close. We were close. We're really like a family. And I think that's what, I think that's what came across on the screen.
Barnaby Jones' office, may I help you?
Later, he was television detective Barnaby Jones, and when he finally retired, he painted. He told interviewers he first arrived in New York City with only $1 and change in his pocket and another $25 in a sock. He endured in a very tough business for more than 60 years. Buddy Ebsen. Morning papers after the break. This is NewsNight.
Why do we work? Why do we get up every day and leave the people we love? At the Principal Financial Group, we know you work for more than just a paycheck. For 120 years, the Principal has helped people keep more of the money they make and do more with the money they save. You work hard. We make work hard for you. The Principal Financial Group. We understand what you're working for.
CNN Tomorrow, FBI Director Robert Mueller speaks out about the war on terror and more. Robert Mueller for the hour, only on Larry King Live, CNN Tomorrow, 9 East.
Unfinished Furniture Megamart is here to make your summer fun. Relax in one of our all-wood cedar, teak, or cypress deck chairs, garden swings, or porch rockers. All you need to complete your garden, deck, or sunroom, all at our everyday low prices. Enjoy outdoor furniture finished your way. If you can imagine it, we have it. Come to Unfinished Furniture Megamart and pick up your favorite outdoor family furniture.
Unfinished Furniture Megamart. Naturally smart.
A beautiful day for racing here. Fans continue to file into this fabulous facility.
The adrenaline-fueled machines of the IRL's IndyCar Series will battle wheel to wheel at Nashville Superspeedway July 19th. And Nashville's own Winona will be on site for a special pre-race concert.
When the brewing is at its peak, Rocky Mountain granite, heated to 700 degrees, creates a centuries-old flavor perfectly. The result? Today's famous Flaming Stone beer, internationally judged one of the best-tasting beers in the world. Flaming Stone and other fine beers are available only at Bosco's Brewing Company, Nashville. Bosco's, the restaurant for beer lovers.
Over the years, your garage door takes quite a beating.
And many older garage doors are dangerous, especially for kids. So when your old garage door finally gives up, have a Wayne Dalton garage door and opener installed. This garage door is safer, stronger, and with a Wayne Dalton garage door opener, you'll have a garage door system you can rely on.
For Wayne Dalton, call Allied Overhead Door Company in Nashville, 244-6447.
CNN, the most trusted name in news.
I missed that. I was off for a couple days. I missed that. Time to check morning papers from around the country and tonight literally from around the world, because we begin in Australia where it's already tomorrow. Well, it's almost tomorrow here anyway. The Daily Telegraph, it's an unbelievable story. Murdered, they have a picture of it. Murdered at 13,000 feet, skydiver Stephen Hilder leaps from aircraft unaware someone had decided to kill him. Someone had cut his parachute, and they have the picture. Take that shot one more time. You got it? Man, oh man. Anyway, that's the Daily Telegraph, and while we're abroad, The Guardian, Blair told it's time to answer vital questions. They're still kicking around what the government said or knew about Iraq. And then this story, does your English let you down? Oh wait, that's an ad. I thought maybe it was directed at me. I wasn't sure. USA Today, if you're traveling, down at the bottom, USA Today, the shuttle's the big story. Vidal Sassoon takes on a hairy fight against P&G, Procter & Gamble. I didn't know that was a big issue, but apparently it is. And a terrific shot of the shuttle hole in the reenactment in USA Today. The Detroit papers, the Detroit News First. Do you think there's a car story? Well, yes, interestingly enough, there is, sort of. Chrysler rescues boat races, 2 for 1 there. The hydroplane is really kind of a niche sport, if you ask me. You see these in Seattle. GOP shuns affirmative action vote. State party denounces Connerly effort to put issue on the state ballot. That's Ward Connerly, who ran an initiative in California to kill off all affirmative action programs, is threatening to go into Michigan to do likewise. And the Republican Party is not too thrilled about that. I can't believe I just said ain't. Oh my goodness. How much time, David? A little bit less than a minute. Medicare, this is the Detroit Free Press. The Medicare drug plan may save car makers millions, and that's likely to affect the negotiations with the UAW. That's a big story there. What did I like here? Oh, I love this story, the Miami Herald. 40 seconds? Okay. Down at the bottom here, okay? Blind baseball announcer, a star at calling the shots. This is a man who's been blind since birth, calls the Spanish language Tampa Bay games. We ought to go down there and do that story. That is a great story. 20 seconds? That's it. No more. That's our report. It's Monday. We'll see you again tomorrow. We hope you're all back. Until then, good night for all of us at NewsNight.
With an allergy headache, every sneeze can hurt. Now there's new Advil Allergy Sinus. It's different. The first and only allergy relief with the pain-relieving power of Advil. It's advanced. A new study shows that when Advil is combined with its allergy medicine, you get better relief. It's here. Stopping allergies that hurt in a whole new way. Advance to new Advil Allergy Sinus. Stop allergies that hurt.
One of these cars is filled with new Shell gasoline. The gasoline specially formulated to give you better mileage. In fact, we have tests to prove it. So, if you took these 3 cars on an identical journey, new Shell gasoline would help one of them go farther.
Did you know if you get AOL, you can get this alert that tells you you have a phone call when you're online? No. Neither does Dad.
If you want to get your calls, you want to get AOL. Because AOL Call Alert tells you when you have a phone call when you're online. So you'll never miss another important call again. Sign up for AOL and get your first 45 days free. With AOL Call Alert included for up to 12 months.
wireless office. For when you can't get any work done in your own. The HP NX7000 notebook with Intel Centrino mobile technology. Get more reliability from HP.
Every day, all over the world, millions of people receive Adobe PDFs. But few realize just how simple they are to create. Which begs the question, is it better to give a PDF or to receive one? The PDF from Adobe Acrobat.
Closed captioning provided by Prudential Real Estate.
The Prudential Real Estate Network can get you moving. With over 44,000 sales professionals you can rely on. Find out why millions of people are sold on Prudential Real Estate.
This is Lou Dobbs Tonight for Monday, July 7th. Sitting in for Lou Dobbs, Kitty Pilgrim.
Good evening, everyone. The